It's been said that life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% on how you deal with it. It's also been said that there's only two things in this world that you can control: your effort and your attitude. Before we meet today's guest, so that we can keep this channel rolling and you can keep meeting amazing professionals, make sure you please push the subscription button as well as the notification bell. Well, today you're in for a treat. You're going to hear from and be inspired by a young man who nearly lost his life in an automobile accident. Mr. Connor Hook, welcome to the Pro Talk podcast. How are you, buddy?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been going good. I'm feeling good. Another day in life, right?
Yep. It's all we're promised, right?
Oh, yeah. Always
Yeah.
promise one more day.
We were talking before we started recording here that I knew you when you were a youngster. I used to coach your dad in tennis, and you remembered running around on the court picking up the balls with the ball tubes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I was talking with my dad the other day. I was like, I'm going to be on Coach Rob's podcast. And I didn't even have to explain who Coach Rob was. He knew. But the funny thing is I brought it up with my mom. I told him, I was like, I'm going to be on Coach Rob's podcast. And my mom's like, who's Coach Rob?
Oh
And I
my
was like,
goodness.
Mom, if I can remember, you can remember.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have the memory of a squirrel sometimes. So she should know Coach Rob as someone significant in,
Yeah.
the family's lives, if I remember.
Well, Karen's one of my Penn State buddies. So there you go.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So that's all right. We'll let her pass. I mean, it's been a while. So Captain Hook is what I used to call your dad. And I told
Yep.
my wife, and I said, "You remember Captain Hook?" And she goes, "Yeah, the big tall guy." I said, "Yeah, on Sunday nights at 5 o'clock." So,
Yep.
well, give him my best for me. So I don't know all the details. So why don't you just start about, was it August 6th, 2024?
It was August 5th of 2024. So only a day off. Yeah,
Okay.
that was good. That was good. But I was just driving to work. I was living out in Brenham, Texas with my now ex-fiance. She lived on a campsite because she worked at the camp. So it made more sense for me to move out there than her move into or like closer to me because, she free rent, right? Things like that. And so I was driving to work, which was in Cypress, Texas, so about an hour away. I made the drive many times before, and randomly, like while I was driving highway, it was going about 70 miles per hour. I had my deja vu feeling, as I call it. It's an aura, and I have epilepsy, and I know when I have the aura, a grand mal seizure is going to be coming. And so when I had it, I started pulling over to the side because, you know, sometimes I have them, sometimes I don't, like with the grand mal aspect.
Mhm.
But to be safe, I wanted to pull over to the side. And while I was pulling over, I had the grand mal and probably 65 miles per hour right into like the guardrail or whatever's in the middle and went into the ditch and everything. And I got helicoptered all the way to the hospital. And yeah, I shattered my leg like into a million pieces. Like if you look on the x-rays, I'm basically a robot with my leg.
Hmm.
Basically a robot.
Now, do you remember gaining consciousness, the impact, and
I, I don't remember the impact, but I remember regaining consciousness and I was underneath, at least I was partially underneath some of the wreckage. And because of adrenaline, I actually pulled myself out of the wreckage, which was a big mistake of mine because that actually gave me a bad infection
okay?
in my leg as well, and I had to be in the hospital even longer because of that.
So it was
But
exposed, and then as you're dragging, yeah.
yeah, and
Hmm.
then the last thing I remember, like after I came out of the seizure, I was in the wreckage and everything, got put on the like helicopter. That's what they put me on. I was with the people. And I specifically remember I was making the people in the helicopter laugh because I was just I'm normally just a goofy person. I was just like, "Oh, crap, something happened, I guess." Like, I was just cracking jokes, and
Yeah.
then I remember just going, like, out, so
Okay.
I can say I'm just lucky. I am so lucky because the next thing I remember, I woke up and I was in a hospital bed,
Right. Now,
so
okay, we'll get into the number of surgeries, but did they put you into surgery right away when they got to the hospital? Had you been in surgery and then woke up?
they put me into surgery right away.
Okay.
When I came to, I was actually had already had surgery. Like, I woke up and my arm was in a cast, somewhat of a cast, more like a brace. My whole leg was just in the immobilizer and covered and everything. Like,
You didn't even
it
want to
was
look.
rough.
Yeah.
And I was also in a neck brace. Thankfully, nothing happened with my neck and things like that, but, they're always worried
Yeah.
about it. And I think I still have some scars. I call them my Joker scars because they're like right there.
Yeah.
But, you know, it didn't look pretty.
All right. So it's it the next day when you wake up or that day of the accident?
I think it was the same day, if I'm remembering correctly. I think it was the same day because I was driving to work in the morning. It could have been next day. I can't.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember because
Yeah.
I wasn't able to contact anybody in my family for a little bit. I couldn't even contact because I lost my phone in the
I
accident.
gotcha. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Isn't that crazy in this world? It's like, what's the phone number? I don't know. It's in my
the,
phone.
the one number I remembered was my mom's. That's the funny thing because
Wow.
I remember when my parents moved to Maryland. My dad changed his number to a Maryland number. Never had that one memorized.
Okay.
Never did.
Yeah. That's
But
that's crazy what a society we have these days that we don't like back in the good old days we knew everybody's phone number, all your friends and everything else and wow, I'm not sure I even know my kids' phone numbers.
and one of the funniest things that ended up happening, I don't know how or what or whatever, they ended up finding everything from the wreck. Like, they found my wallet, they found my phone, and I think they found the keys that I had. And all of that, they found that. The only thing that was missing from what was on my person was my driver's license.
Hmm.
And I had no idea, and I was just like, "I'm pretty sure I probably gave it to someone in the helicopter or something
Oh,
like
right.
that." They're
Yeah.
just I was like, "Where how did it come out?" Because I have one of those wallets that you have to click a button for it to come out,
Okay.
but I don't think anyone's trying to steal my identity. I think they would do that if they stole a debit card or credit
Right.
card,
Yeah. What do you do with
like,
that?
I was so confused. So
Well, you know what? I think it must have been it was on the 6th that you mentioned on Facebook that you were in an accident. There's a great message on that your dad tagged you, if I can read it.
Mhm.
It said, "This guy is one of the toughest people I know. He's fortunate to be alive and proof that God is watching over him." And that was what your dad messaged you or put it on Facebook.
Mhm.
And, you mentioned, I mean, throughout your ordeal, I've been inspired by you because instead of this why me crap of, I shouldn't say crap, but it's like I mean, you've gone through so much that everybody would understand that you could feel jaded. Soon after your accident, I think a couple of days after, you said, well, after 3 days, 3 surgeries, I'm blessed to be alive. What an amazing perspective right away.
Yeah, one of the biggest things, because I had to go through, a ton of my own therapy for things that happened in the past, growing up and during my undergrad at Baylor, things like that. Uh, that I improved, like, with my brain health and stuff. And if I didn't have that, I don't think my mindset would have been the way that it was, because I used to take so many things for granted. You know, I used to have that woe is me
Hmm.
type of mindset because I was just like, well, it's all downhill from here. type of thing when you're laying in a hospital bed with a neck brace, your leg can't even bend, your leg is broken, your arm's broken, things like that. At the same time, I'm just like life is giving me another chance at the
Mhm.
same time. Even though I was having a pretty good life even before the accident, but I was like, well, God wants me to be alive,
Mhm.
you know, kind of a kind of a miracle type thing.
I love what you
So
said there, that through growing up and through college, some of the difficulties made you stronger. That's
yeah,
great.
yeah, because one of the things that happened was I fell into drinking, and at 22, 23, I was badly drinking, like had a bad breakup, like even in college. And the first thing that I did, I went and grabbed like 24 beers and just downed them all. Like that's one of the very first things I did. And that started becoming an everyday thing because I wanted to block out,
Mhm.
all pain,
Mhm.
everything. And then, it kept going. And my parents ended up giving me basically an ultimatum eventually, you know, get your mental health under control, get your drinking under control, or you're done, you know. And I was already going through, mental health treatment, things like that, but none of it was sticking.
Mhm.
So the last chance, like my parents really, especially I would say with my dad, like, of course, my mom's words stuck with me and
Mhm.
stuff. But when I hear my dad say, like, this is your last chance
Right.
or we're done, because my dad doesn't really, I guess, speak up as much as my mom. My mom is very vocal. My dad is very silent. So it like hit me when he says that.
Right.
It's like, oh goodness, I
Yeah.
better shape up. When the
Yeah.
6'7" man speaks up, you're kind of like,
Yeah.
whoa. But
Yeah.
that's why I moved to Houston to begin with, was for mental health treatment. And one of the big things was also my anger. I had a really tough time controlling my anger, and we found out it was because of one of my epilepsy medications too.
Oh, wow.
Uh, the side effect is Keppra Rage. That's what they call it. And Keppra is a medication for epilepsy. The side effect of it, or one of the big ones, is anger, rage. I was on 3,000 milligrams of that medication a day,
3,000.
3,000 milligrams. And basically, the outpatient program I was in basically told me, like, if I don't calm my anger down, you're out.
Mhm.
Because I was ticked all the time. You could say hello to me and I'd tell you to shut up. Like, it was that bad. And then I went to go see a neuropsychologist through the hospital my IOP was through. And he looked at me, he's like, you struggle with anger? And I was just like, I gave him like an F off kind of look. I was just like, yeah. And he was like, and you're on 3,000 milligrams of Keppra? And I was like, yeah. He's like, all right, we're taking you off that
Okay.
and switching you over to a new medication, which is actually a mood stabilizer. And I'm still on it today. Next day, the IOP thought I was manic because I came in such a good mood because I was tapered so
Unbelievable.
much off of it.
Right.
And then all the therapy started to kick in. I started taking it seriously compared to all the other times like I had gone through therapy.
Mhm.
So that's where I kind of learned like this whole mindset was, you know, that I really like when you think about it, I shouldn't be here even before the car accident. I
Yeah.
really shouldn't have been.
Now, okay, so if you could tell everybody, what your profession is now, because I'm guessing you know a lot about the medication that was prescribed to you, and that the big pharma, without telling you, oh, potential side effects. Well, no, it's a direct effect. Thank you. You know.
Mhm.
So what is your line of work? And then you can tell us about some of the stuff that you've learned through that.
Yeah, so now I am a licensed therapist here in Texas. You know, I decided, when I was figuring out what wanted to do while I was in the outpatient program I was in, I was trying to figure out because my Baylor degree, like, I almost don't count it just because I was a C's get degrees type person. I had no direction when I
Yeah.
graduated. It was awful. So I was like, I talked to my parents. I was like, could I go back and get a second bachelor's? Because that's like, oh, I might want to go into law. Right. And so went back. It was nearing the end of my degree. And, I had a 3.89 GPA with it and something like that. And it was all pre law stuff.
Hmm.
And I was thinking, and I remember my therapist specifically telling me, she was like, "You'd make an awful lawyer." And I kind of looked and I was like, "Yeah, you're kind of right. I probably would." And so I was thinking about social work. I kind of changed, courses. And then I remember my mom specifically saying, "You'd be an awful social worker." And I asked her why, and she's like, "Well, you're a 6'2", 280-pound man. You're going to be
Right.
stuck on the front lines of CPS. Do you want to do that?" And I was like, "I could not do that. Nope." And then when I was talking with my therapist and my family kind of came into the discussion too. They're just like, "Why don't you go into being a therapist? Because I can apply what I have learned to help other people
Great.
in
Yeah.
the that need the help." So it's like giving back to the community in a way.
Hmm.
So, that's how I ended up there. And, you know, I enjoy it quite a bit, you know. So
Good for you. I want to go back to if you can walk us through, if you don't mind. I've got 8/16/24. One of your quotes was, "I'm headed to rehab facility to learn to walk again." Kind of like, let's go get them. What's that feeling like? Because I don't know many people that have, you know, we've had some surgeries, we've had bad days, aches and pains, but to look in the mirror and think, today I got to learn how to walk again. How's that hit the body?
and that was 8/16/24,
Hmm.
2024. No, I stayed in the hospital for 2 more months.
Good
That
grief.
they told me I was gonna go to rehab, uh, at that time, but the infection in my leg kept getting, coming back, going away, coming back, going away. There still was more surgery, and then I had to have more surgery for the infection, things like that. So eventually I got to the rehab facility, but they didn't do anything. They just let me lay there the entire time. I was like, the entire 2 weeks, I barely even moved.
Because
Like,
you're unable, or they were bad at what they did.
it was more they were bad at what they did.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I still, struggle with the walking aspect. I still use my wheelchair, but even then, like, I, I don't know. I mean, getting told that maybe you're going to get sent to rehab kind of was just like, okay, let's go. I'm ready to get back on my feet.
Hmm.
Which, when I was told that I wasn't going, I mean that's kind of sucked.
Hmm.
But at the same time, thank God for the seventh floor in Memorial Hermann Hospital here in Houston. They treated me so well. You know, I also that to everybody out there listening, always treat your nurses well, always, because then they'll love you. You'll get you'll get special treatment a little bit.
Well, that's good. No, they're seeing you every day, right? They're right there in the front
They
lines.
see me every day. Anytime I went back, they would basically just all of them would come and see me
Hmm.
right away. And I remember I was there on Valentine's Day. Is it this year? Yeah, I think it was this year I was there. Maybe it was last year. I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to get all my dates now because of
Hmm.
everything being kind of crazy. But they brought me a flower for when I woke up. I woke up and there was a little flower next to my
Nice.
bed with Happy Valentine's Day from the
Nice.
nursing staff.
Hey, date them all.
I know,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Uh, Now, Okay, I remember the, football player Alex Smith who had the very bad break and that
Okay.
story, and was it ever one of those things where, "Hey, if we don't get this infection under control, what's the worst case scenario there?"
They have told me multiple times, and they did tell me that if the infection doesn't get under control, my leg is chopped,
Ooh,
chopped off. And there's still a surgery that I do need. And it's basically like what they would do is remove my kneecap and put a metal cage where the kneecap is because basically like where my kneecap is currently, it's molded into the muscle. So now my leg can't bend
can't
because
bend.
my kneecap is messed up.
Yeah.
So the surgery that I would need is a removal. The issue with that is the infection that I originally got, the bacteria is attracted to metal.
Oh.
And that's why eh, the infection was so originally bad for me is because now all my leg is basically metal on the
Mhm.
inside. Like the bones are basically metal. My hip is pretty much metal. Like everything. So they're scared of going, in there, taking out the kneecap and replacing with the metal cage because they don't want the bacteria to come back and attack,
Mhm.
basically exposed muscle
Right.
at that point, like really exposed muscle. Because if that happens, it might lead to my leg being amputated.
Is that something that the longer time goes by, the better your chances?
Um, it's kind of hard to say just because the bacteria might always technically be there. Um, And I say that, like, because bacteria is an annoying
Mhm.
thing, all that. I take antibiotics every single day for
Mhm.
it, a very
Yeah.
strong one.
Yeah.
Uh, I think it's close to how much is this now? I never know. 3,200 milligrams of antibiotics a day.
Yeah.
Uh, so pretty much, I would say like 99.99% of the bacteria is just not in my body
Right.
at the moment. It's just, when bacteria attacks something,
Mhm.
it will multiply, multiply, multiply. But I
Right.
actually talked to my infectious disease doctor the other day, and I hate the name infectious disease. I will go to my grave
Yeah.
and say I hate the name of the doctor being infectious disease
Yeah.
because my infection is not infectious,
Right.
like all
Yeah.
that. But I went and talked with her, and she said, "Oh yeah, the kneecap removal and kneecap replacement shouldn't be a problem. You're on so much, Bactrim, which is the antibiotic that you could probably kill an elephant."
Right.
Like, like, so hopefully, that will come about and
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I'm not
everything. But
I have had a little experience. I had a knee replacement a year ago,
Mhm.
yesterday, actually, and I'm just curious, with the advances, can they do something that's not metal?
I think they could. It's just like, being a young individual, I'm 33. I think they'd be more nervous on giving me something that's not as sturdy,
Right.
as something because younger, probably out doing a little bit more. I don't know, because I don't do it much anymore. Uh,
Mhm. Yeah.
but I guess you could say probably a little bit more active when younger and
Yeah.
things like that. And, you know, those things wear out a lot
Mm.
quicker
Sure.
and things like that. So
Well, with
if I have
technology.
yeah,
Yeah.
with all the technology and stuff out there. So I have considered, doing so. But even my surgeons were just like, you would probably want to go with, the metal, replacements if you got it. The issue with that is they're metal. And
Metal.
with the infection, they're
Yeah.
just scared
I
of,
gotcha.
something like that.
Yeah. Well, I wrote down some of the things. I went back through a lot of your comments that you put on social media, keeping your friends involved and so forth. That yeah, like I could still hear you saying, "Okay, trick number one." and it was like you move from the bed to a chair.
Yep.
And throughout your ordeal, it's like all of us have nothing to complain about, and like you, I'm sure you probably thought someone's worse. You mentioned on 11/4, you said, let me see what you said exactly. You were awaiting your 20th surgery to remove hardware. I interviewed an orthopedic surgeon, and he was saying that the average American has 9 surgeries in their lifetime. And I've counted mine, wisdom teeth and 3 knee surgeries. And I'm like, okay, I'm only at 4. So you started upping that average for the average American because to date, how many have you had?
Uh, to date, on just my leg alone, it's been 32. Uh, last last October, though, yeah, 2025, I actually broke my hip on the same side as my leg, so I had another surgery there, so that's 33,
Okay.
and then I had multiple surgeries growing up too. I had my wisdom teeth,
Yeah.
of course, my shoulder done twice, my knees already had been done. I'm losing count. I might have hit 40 surgeries as a 33-year-old by this point. So it's kind of like when you told me average 9 surgeries, I was just like, I might have bumped it up to 9.4 or
Yeah.
something like that at that point.
For the other 300 million of us, right?
Yeah.
You ever complain to your parents? Hey, I got some bad DNA here. What's up with this? Yeah.
Well, the funny thing is like I think my sister had one knee surgery. My dad, of course, has had a couple, and he had his knees replaced and things like that. And I think he has an operation coming up to like repair the something went wrong with the knee replacement or
Mm,
something like that. I'm trying to remember exactly what he and my mom
yeah.
told me, but I have joked with many people. I've had all the breaks and all the tears and the epilepsy, things like that. So I've joked that, I got the recessive genes out of all of them. I've joked and called myself the black sheep of the family,
Yeah.
but in reality I take it as just like I guess you can't I guess you can call it bad luck
Yeah.
or just wrong place, wrong time, things like that, just
Yeah.
or freak accidents, I guess you can say, like, that would be I
Yeah.
would consider my car accident would be a freak accident,
Yeah. Well,
things like that.
nobody else was hurt, and
Correct.
you know, and you weren't stupid. I mean, it wasn't like a DUI and you killed somebody, and
Yeah.
yeah. I saw that you mentioned last October you fell and broke
Uh-huh.
your hip, and then you made a joke. Only 4.5 days in the hospital, my shortest stay ever. Good work.
Yep. Yeah,
Uh,
because let's see, the first time when I got into the hospital after my accident, I was there for a month and a half, I think, total. And then when I had to go back for that hardware replacement because some of the metal was actually sticking up through my skin, and it was just like, "What in the world?" And I went and showed my surgeon, he's like, "Yeah, we need to get you back into surgery."
like now.
I think I was there for about 3 weeks, and, then when I went for my broken hip, I was expecting because I got nails, put into my hip and everything. It looks hilarious on, like, the X-rays and stuff like that just because it's like showed it to a friend, they're just
Yeah.
like, "That hip looks like an 80-year-old," and I'm like, "That's fine." And they're just like, "What in the world?" Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, like, it was only a 4.5-day stay because with the whole getting metal into the body with the infection stuff, I was prepared to stay
Hmm.
another month or so because,
Yeah.
that's been the history of everything. But, I was only there for 4.5 days and I was like, "Oh, heck yeah, get me the heck out of here. I'm ready to go."
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Been in a hospital too long. You
mhm.
you mentioned your New Year's resolution. I thought this was funny. It's like, how about walking? Huh.
Yeah, and, one of the things that it's not really self-deprecating, I would call it. It's more just, I do poke fun at myself, like, and turn, certain things that have happened into more of a comedic aspect of just like, I'm in my wheelchair and, my whole Monday night softball team, the team is called Brace Yourselves because almost everybody on the team has had knee problems and stuff like that. So knee brace. And we made new jerseys and they were just like, Connor, you have become the face of this jersey. And when they held it up, it was the picture of a person in a wheelchair,
Yeah.
the symbols for the handicap parking.
Right.
And I was just like, this is perfect. And of course, my name had to be Hot Wheels on the back
Yeah.
and the numbers 00, you know,
Right.
all the things. So it's kind of like turning, a lot of things into, a comedic point of view, I guess you could say,
Yeah.
because, if you stay down on yourself about a lot, you know, you're going to be really depressed, and it's okay to be sad, of course, but,
Hmm.
finding a light side on things, you can always at least try to do. So
Yeah.
that's kind of like why I was, you know, hitting the nail on the head with, my shortest stay ever because I'm like, well, it has been, but the thing is, dear Lord, Connor, stay out of the hospital.
Right.
But, but
Yeah.
it's just like, you know what? I get to go home. I get to go home and
Yeah.
watch football from my chair.
You're
Like,
setting records only 4.5 days. So.
yeah.
Now, you were talking about, going through all this. Who were some of the people that were supporting you because your parents aren't nearby? They're in Tennessee and you're in Texas. I mean,
Well,
you mentioned your softball team. I forgot to bring this up when you said that. There's an awesome picture of you sitting in a wheelchair with the whole team around you. I thought that was awesome, and
yeah.
you got a great smile on your face. You're with the team.
Yep. Uh, so some of my biggest supports actually have been both of my parents. Uh, I FaceTime with my mom almost every single day because she worries about me. She's
Sure.
always been a worry wart, but I wouldn't trade her for any mom in the world. I can tell you that. But my mom does come down to visit, a couple times each year and things like that. My dad was actually recently here. What was it, last week? Yeah, he was just here last week. Yeah, I had to make sure because I was just like, oh, crap. I
Yeah.
was like, did I just forget when he was here? But no, he came last week. We went to 2 Astros games,
Cool.
here in Houston. We got a brand new wheelchair for me. The one that I had was a rental, and
Okay.
that thing was heavy, so we needed to just buy one
Right.
and get one lighter. The one that I got now is 25 pounds, lighter. So, but no, my parents have still constantly been like the most supportive overall, and they make time to come see me,
Sure.
things like that. But I don't get to see them all that often.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
the other people that have been important for me to get through all this have been, my friend group. And without playing so much softball prior to my accident, I wouldn't have had a single, you
Hmm.
know, friend, my
Yeah.
whole community.
Yeah.
Uh Speaking of my dad, he decided to text. Uh
Ah.
but yeah, like I said, without the softball community, Lord knows what I'd be doing. They would always stop by in the hospital.
It's
They come
awesome.
see me. They'll pick me up to go to softball, things like that. But one of the big things that I learned through this all, and I had never thought about it before the accident because I was constantly around people, is it's okay to be alone sometimes.
Hmm.
And one of the things I had to learn was learn how to be alone because in reality, we're never going to always be around people.
Hmm.
You know, that's just kind of how it is. But it also helped me appreciate just the world and like how I can just take time for myself because, I gave my time to every person,
Hmm.
everything, never really took time for myself. But now it's like, oh, I can even it out. I know, I can just take time here. I can go do this there, things like that. But, you know, I wouldn't have gotten to that place as well if it wasn't for my therapist,
Hmm.
Sebastian. You know, he's been helping me through this and all of that. And, funny thing about Sebastian is when I was at my IOP, he was actually an RA doing his graduate internship at the IOP.
Hmm.
He left and everything, and I left the IOP eventually and everything, and I was looking for a therapist. I reached out to Sebastian, and he said yes, and we started, meeting weekly and stuff like that. Now we work in the same office,
Okay.
but and I had no idea that's where he even worked because I saw him virtually.
Isn't that amazing?
But not through the same place, but, like, where I work and where he works, they use the same office
Hmm.
space. So it's, like, really funny, like, today I ran into him after seeing him for a session, uh, it was yesterday, so it's just like, "Oh, I didn't know you were here today."
Yeah. That's wild.
But, yeah, but without Sebastian, without my parents, Lord, I wouldn't have made it through all this.
Hmm.
And another thing that I did learn was it's okay to ask for help as well, because I was a stubborn individual. I would not ask for help, but goodness gracious, this accident taught me that it's okay to ask for help.
Hmm. That's a great statement. I I wanted to ask you what were your, because I'm so interested in the mental side of just about everybody. What makes a great musician? What makes an artist and an athlete, of course, because everybody faces difficulty. What is your mental game, so to speak, on a hour to hour, day by day basis that you're going to be here for a while? You don't know if they're going to have 28 surgeries. You don't know when the next infection is. Where's the daylight when it's this, you're going to be here in the hospital and you don't know when you're getting out. How'd you do that, man?
I took it's actually a big AA saying. It's just one day at a time.
Okay.
And really, because if you worry about too much in the future, it causes severe
Anxiety.
anxiety.
Yeah.
A lot of people like to future trip, I guess you can say, like, oh gosh, am I going to be having 30 more surgeries? Am I going to be here for 100 days? Things like that. But it's concentrating on like what's going on today. How can I improve today? Things like that. Because honestly, another thing that this accident has shown me is there is no promise of tomorrow.
Hmm.
There, there really isn't. And that I started just really even further taking it like one day at a time. Take it slow, just concentrate on what you need to do
Hmm.
today because, as long as you accomplish what you can do today, then tomorrow you can concentrate and worry about what you need to do
Tomorrow.
that
Yeah.
day,
Right.
you know, because it's just like I had, let's see, how many clients did I have? Like 5 clients today. Sometimes I lose track. Yeah, 5 clients today. But if I worried about tomorrow's clients while, working with the 5 today, I couldn't give my 100% to my clients today,
Exactly. Yeah.
which would affect the, entire session. And that's not what they're, paying me for or anything. I want to give my 100% to them,
Hmm.
and so every day it's just like every day is a blessing at the same time. Like, so it's kind of just like treating it going on and yeah.
That's good. I think we should all learn from that. We're not promised any more than what we have.
Mhm.
Another negative part that you've dealt with. Um, my wife was in a car accident when we were first married, and some of the BS. I want to keep this family friendly, but you can say what you want to say. Dealing with insurance, it's just like, holy smokes! I can't imagine the blood pressure, ringing that bell. Some of the rationale is just bonkers. So, you're trying to do this and then insurance gets held up and this and this and that. And is there a voice of reason? How do you handle that without going crazy?
Well, the funny thing is, the insurance that I had when I got into the car accident was very good, and I didn't have to pay a single dime for, any of the surgeries. And then once it got to December, Memorial Hermann, the hospital, sent out mail and said, "Oh, next year we're not going to be taking your insurance." Like the type of insurance plan that I had.
Hmm.
And my mom and I were together at that point. We were just like, "Oh crap," because I had a surgery scheduled for like, oh my gosh, was it like, I think it was in January or something like that. So we had to get a plan quick. And of course, we did get a good one, thank goodness, but of course, surgery is so expensive,
Hmm.
still had to pay for some of it
Hmm.
as well. Cause it's like, I hate when they send you like, oh, this is what you should have paid or
Right. Yeah.
what this originally cost. And it's just like a surgery to repair my hip was really going to be $200,000. Like, really? You put nails in me? A hardware store could do that.
That's it.
But like,
Go to do that at
but
Home Depot.
But, I mean, I've never really had a huge issue with insurance, and I'm very blessed by that because I know a lot of people,
Hmm.
fight so much crap with insurance and stuff. The only issue I've ever had truly with insurance was I was at PT one day and I roll in, I check in and everything. They're like, by the way, we're not going to be accepting Blue Cross Blue Shield of Texas anymore. And then I, like, looked and I was like, "What?" Like, Blue Cross Blue Shield is the most used, like, insurance company in the state of Texas.
Hmm.
Like, why is my like, hospital? Because where I go to PT is through, the hospital, system that I've been going to, and they're just like, "Oh, we're in a fight with Blue Cross Blue Shield," and it's like, that's the last people you wanna be in a fight with, like, as a hospital system.
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
that's the last insurance company. And so for a while, like I only could go to PT like once a week because, you know, PT without insurance is annoyingly expensive.
Sure.
It
Yeah.
would have been it was like 150 a session and I had to go like 2 to 3 times a week, so I had to cut down and stuff like that. Thankfully they got their crap together and they finally came to an agreement. So now I only have to pay $30 per session, which
Hmm. Yeah. Gladly. Right.
still have to pay, but,
Yeah.
it's $30 compared to 150.
Yeah. The usual, customary, reasonable paragraph. I was like, oh, so you could decide to pay what you want to pay. And
Yeah.
they said, basically, yeah. Oh, yeah. My wife's ambulance bill was like $1,200. And I looked at the bill and they charge $53 in fuel charges to drive 7 miles. And so I called the ambulance company. Politely, I said, what did you use? Rocket fuel? I mean, 7 miles. They explained, now this was 25 years ago. They explained that they need to upcharge the fuel charges because they have different type machines in there. So basically, we could save someone's life. It's a life flighted ambulance. Perfect. Whatever. No problem. So when my insurance company came back to pay, because we reached the deductible, like that, they were going to pay 393 of the 1,200 something dollars, usual, customary, reasonable. And I said, well, they told me, they said, your wife could have gotten a cheaper ambulance. I said, excuse me? I said, she was cut out of the car from the jaws of life, from the fire
Yeah.
department. She didn't really have a chance to go over at the time to find a
Mhm.
payphone, check out the yellow pages and research a
Yeah.
cheaper ambulance company.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? But I mean, it's, and one of my buddies goes, it's a good thing your wife survived because you probably would have been a little bit more ticked off at these charges. you
Yeah.
know. So yeah, that was the real victory. But so
And
yeah, that's just a few more gray hairs you get during your process, huh?
Yeah, and then the funny thing, actually, now that you bring up ambulance, that's the one thing that I'm constantly fighting Blue Cross Blue Shield with about is when I broke my hip, uh, I had to call an ambulance, to come basically get me because I was laying
Mm.
on the floor pretty much. I could not move
Oh
at
boy.
all. Like that's how bad the break ended up being. So I had to call the ambulance. I live in the medical center, Rob. I live in the medical center a mile away from my hospital. Got an ambulance, and the bill came out to be like $5,000. And I'm constantly fighting. I'm just like, I literally rode
Yeah.
1 mile.
Oh wow.
This should cost like $35.
Right? You could have
Like
rented the helicopter.
they they could have literally like picked me up and walked me to the hospital, but instead they're just like, "Oh yeah, it's gonna cost like $5,000," and I'm just like,
Mm,
I was like, "No, no, it's really not." Like,
unbelievable.
I'm not, and like I literally put my payment down as the minimum monthly payment of like $20 because I was not gonna pay like a massive
Right.
monthly because I'm just like, it's like $5,000 is ridiculous.
That's
Like
true.
I looked up my ambulance from where I got into my car wreck all the way into Houston, which I was 35 miles outside of Houston, and it was less expensive on that ambulance ride into Houston, where my car accident was, than it was from my apartment to the med center, or to the hospital, which is
Yeah.
1 mile from me now.
Wow.
So I was like,
Yeah.
none of that makes sense.
There
I'm sorry.
yeah. Where's the voice of reason, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm always talking with Blue Cross Blue Shield about it. I'm just like,
Yeah.
I can't. I'm not. No.
Let me talk to your
Like,
supervisor. Someone's
yeah,
got a brain.
legitimately.
Yeah. Um, can you tell us the story? When you told me this, it outraged me about your employer at the time of your accident.
Yeah, so it was kind of a weird situation, and they did, I guess you could say, have cause, right? Because I got into my car wreck, but I also was in no shape. I barely had my phone like whatsoever. I was in surgery like constantly. So I missed a lot of clients, you know. Of course not my fault
Mhm.
because,
Yeah.
I'm laying in a hospital bed, I'm under the knife, things like that. And I finally got a hold of my phone and I contacted my boss, and my boss was like, "Oh, thank God you're okay. You know, we were worried about you, like, everything." My boss even came to see me when I was in the hospital. He brought a little plant and everything. But later on, I checked the website, my name and my bio, everything was taken off. Did not hear from my boss again. Well, ex boss. And really just never got a direct, you know, explanation.
Mm. Wow.
So, it stunk. But at the same time, I can never fully blame that job for doing what they did because I was out for so long.
Sure.
You know, I was in the hospital for a total of 2 months. I was basically told not to work for a good while.
Right. Yeah.
So, it's like either way, they'd probably ask me to go eventually because, it took me so long to be able to start working again.
Mhm.
So, that's the way I took it. Like, yeah, I was kinda mad, of course, with the whole like, "Oh, well, at least you could have done is tell me."
How about some
But
yeah.
at the same time, I took it in the way as they probably would have anyway, solely because I would have been out for so long.
Well, call me crazy, but maybe the considerate way would be to discuss this with you before you just blank slate.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, 100% correct about
Jeez
that.
Louise. Yeah. Or, people
100.
go on short-term disability all the time. People have babies and they're out for, 9 weeks, but well,
I've never told, actually I never told my mom or dad this, they probably have figured it out, but I tried to get on disability and stuff like that, and they denied me. And I told them, they're like, "Well, you can get around. It seems like your disability is too short term."
Hmm.
And I looked at him, I was just like, "You did see epilepsy on there too,
Hmm.
right?"
Yeah.
Which people get disability for epilepsy all the time. But that's a tricky situation as well because even with epilepsy, you can still work and it
Right.
doesn't fully hinder anything. They said mine were too non-hinderable or whatever,
Yeah.
to get on it. And I'm just like, I'm laying, I can't even bend my leg. I'm in a wheelchair. I run into things when I'm moving around,
Yeah.
like
Right.
things like that. So it's kind of like,
Yeah. Well,
it's been a fight with all sorts of things.
that's part of the respect I have for you because you've never played the victim card. And who would blame you if you did?
I mean, trust me when I say it's a little difficult not to play
Hmm.
the victim card sometimes because it can get to those points where it's just like, woe is me.
Hmm.
Like, I wake up in the morning and I'm just like, I shouldn't feel this way. It's almost, like, I guess you could say it's almost depressing. Like, waking up and realizing, oh, still can't walk.
Hmm.
But at the same time, I jump out of, well, I can't really say jump. I get out of bed, but I get to my wheelchair and I just start rolling around. People ask me, how do I get my exercise? I'm just like, I call it chair zoomies. You know how dogs get zoomies
Hmm.
and stuff like that. I just go out into the halls and just race down to the lobby and go back. And I think the workers at my apartment complex think I'm insane
Yeah.
sometimes, but it's just like, I gotta do something,
Get the
right?
energy out. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's awesome. I mean, you said so many things there. You got to get up, get out of the rack and get rolling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I mean, things can stink because I said this before. My main hobby was taken away from me. Like I was out playing softball
Yeah.
3 to 4 times a week, every single week. Had fun. Like I made so many friends, and then with a blink of an eye, that got taken from me.
Hmm.
With my car wreck, and I thought, well, what do I do
Hmm.
now?
Yeah.
But, I've one of the big things that I picked back up was building Legos. You know, I weirdly do crosswords, which never thought I would be a big fan of,
Yeah.
to be honest. I still like playing video games, but I'm not like the huge gamer, like
Hmm. Yeah.
whatever. But, one of the big things is like I do like using my hands. So it's like, Legos is good. Then, of course, my job does keep me busy now.
Hmm.
So it's one of those things. And I think one of the best decisions I made with my job is keeping myself open to working evenings and later afternoons. Cause typically I put my schedule at like 9 to 5 and stuff. But then I made myself available like on certain days to go until like 10 o'clock
Oh,
if they
okay.
needed
Yeah.
like if some people get off work late, so if they needed an appointment.
Yeah.
But that also kind of helps,
Yeah.
keep me just balanced for the day
Yeah.
and kind of keeps my mind off of things as well because, I can get to a point maybe in the day where it's like, ah, it's so boring, blah, blah, blah. But if I have a client,
Right.
say at 8 or 9, like whatever, I get done with the client and I'm just like, I'm just ready for bed. No, let me just throw something on the TV and watch and just like, go into kind of the state of,
Sure.
okay, I'm done. I'm done.
Yeah. But you know what, though, that statement, I don't know if it was John Wooden, but I remember him saying this, that the most selfish thing we can ever do is to help somebody because the amazing feeling that we get back because we help somebody. So that's awesome that you do that. And I'm sure you get that lift of value to somebody. And when being a therapist, that you do that so well.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
That's great. I've written down a bunch of notes here. And what's really fun to me is when I get to talk to people like you that I get inspired by and from and learn from. And when I edit this 2 or 3 different times, I get to learn and hear other things, and I'm really
Mhm.
looking forward to hearing your story again. Some of the notes I wrote down is that I think everybody should understand is that we take for granted tomorrow, and all we're promised is today. That how you used to take so many things for granted, and I know as an athlete with my knee issues, I've questioned, am I ever going to be able to run? It was like the moon to me last year. Like I just need to be able to walk straight. And I saw your video of you walking, and I thought, good grief, man, I got nothing to complain about. It's like I was inspired watching you walk, and I've seen the Home Depot hardware in your leg, and it's like anyway. But you talked about to treat nurses well. I think that's great.
100%. I have learned
Uh,
that because if you treat the nurses well, then they will treat you well.
yeah,
Oh, that they 100% will.
that's great. So it's 40 plus surgeries, right? If we added them all up.
In my entire life, yes, but
Yeah.
since the accident, 32 on my leg and then the one on my hip.
Yeah. So
And the worst part is they've all been on my left side, so I've joked that I'm turning into, the actual Terminator because isn't hit like half of
yeah,
his
right, yeah.
side metal, and so I'm
Yeah,
just like, "Oh no, the AI is taking over."
that's funny. There you go. It's a great way to look at it again.
Yeah.
But how long is your streak? When was the last one you had?
Uh, I think it was the hip surgery, which was October of
Yeah,
last year.
yeah,
Yeah. So, I'm it's going on, let's see, it's June. No, it's not June yet. It's May.
yeah.
Uh,
Almost June.
so yeah. So, I mean, it's been like a half a year
Attaboy.
now, I guess.
There we go.
Uh,
That's great.
but the only thing is like that streak will end at some point because I'll have another surgery.
Yeah.
And that's just the kneecap removal, like
Mhm.
whenever they can
Figure that
do
out.
that. And I know
Yeah.
I know my mom wants me to hold off on that until January, probably. Solely because, you know, if I have it in January, there's going to be some sort of payment to pay. But if we pay that payment, like after insurance and over, my deductible's likely going to be covered for the rest of the year.
Yeah, right, for everything
So,
else. Yeah.
so it's kind of just like, oh,
Yeah.
well, I guess everything is free.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
after that. So,
Right. Uh, one thing you said is it's okay to be sad, but you need to find the light side of things. There's a song that inspires me by Disturbed called The Light. Sometimes darkness
Mhm.
will show you the light. Like, man, it's a funny your perspective when you look at it as a glass half full, half empty. I was a psychology major, and one professor said some people are just cracked in their glasses. But no, it's like you have looked at the light side of things, and I know things have been really brutal, and you probably fits of anger or tears or whatever, but you've been inspiring the way, like you said, you learned to be alone. And um, I find in your tone and the things that your messages that you've found strength through all these struggles. Is that true?
Oh, 100%. 100%. And, it's allowed me to connect even more with my emotions. And that's why, like I say, it's okay to be sad. And another, like going off of that, I think it's another point to, tell young men
Hmm.
that because we do grow up, or at least maybe we both grew up in the same place where men are encouraged not to have emotions.
Mm.
Get told to suck it up and
Yeah.
before be strong, and everything. Like men aren't supposed to have emotions. That's only for women. But you can be strong, but still have emotions.
Right.
You know, it's okay to let yourself experience emotions. It's very common for men to typically uh, express two emotions: happiness and anger.
Okay.
Those are usually the widely accepted ones and most seen because that's kind of a societal thing.
Right.
But what happens is men do feel the feeling of sadness, it comes out in anger.
Okay.
But so young men, every man I think should learn that it's okay to let yourself feel sadness and do it in a healthy way though. Because, what I've seen, what I've experienced myself is when, young men start feeling sad, they turn to anger and they become self-destructive.
Hmm.
That's one of their big issues. Like they turn to drinking, they turn to violence, they turn to, some actually turn to sex, things like that. And I know women do too, but, it's been much more accepted, the women having the feelings. So that's kind of like one of my big things, like why I, you know, express so much that it's okay to be sad because if a young man sees, a 33-year-old therapist
Hmm.
that's male saying that, then,
It's okay.
then
Yeah.
it is okay.
Yeah.
It is okay.
Is it true that there's a depressant release in tears? Is that true?
100%.
Okay.
Absolutely. It is a very, like, I encourage people to like have a cry
Hmm.
every now and then, even though I know some people or most people can't cry on demand. But I do say, like, when you have that feeling, let yourself cry. It's okay to cry
Hmm.
because a lot of people do feel better after, they express that sadness in the form of crying.
Hmm.
Some people get like, it's the same like when people get angry, they like to do something physical, like go to the gym.
Right.
You know, some people actually like to do boxing as
Mm.
a big,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
emotional. But like after you're done punching a punching bag or stuff, you have that release and you're like, that feels better.
Right. Yeah.
It's the same thing with crying and the
Sure.
emotion of, sadness.
Yeah.
It's the same type of, I guess you could say, rush
Sure.
that you
Yeah.
that you get. Because with happiness, like, we cheer, we laugh,
Right.
things like that.
Yeah.
And happiness kind of lingers around, I guess, like for a while.
Yeah.
And anger and sadness might too, but they're temporarily relieved when you get that some sort of activity,
Yeah.
things like that. I think the one thing that might be the most difficult is like the feeling of fear, because it's like you don't want to just go around being fearful,
Sure.
because I don't think there's anything cathartic about,
Yeah.
doing something fearful
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
everything.
Exactly. So what about the like if you cry because your sports team lost and then the next day it still stinks because your team lost? I'm just kidding you.
Oh, I think being an Atlanta everything fan, I've experienced that too much.
There's
Uh,
some pain with Atlanta sports fans. Yeah.
I remember the Super Bowl, when the 29-3 game happened.
Holy cow. It's still
That
too
Super
soon when
Bowl.
you bring it up. People like, "Oh, don't talk about it. It's still too soon."
I remember my dad calling me when that happened, saying, "Are you okay?"
Because you grew up here early. That's right.
Yeah,
So,
and I've been a Braves, Falcons, Hawks. I was a Thrashers fan. Rest in peace,
yeah,
Thrashers.
right. Yeah.
Uh, but I've been an Atlanta fan my whole life, and
Yeah.
I'm always optimistic about their sports every single year. The
Yeah.
Hawks, they always let me down. Uh, but the Braves, every single year, I'm optimistic about them.
Yeah.
Every single year. Falcons, I don't even know how to describe my
Yeah.
love. I just all I know is I bought a new Bijan Robinson jersey and I rock it whenever
That guy's good.
whenever I feel like it. I absolutely love him.
He's
I don't
amazing.
like UT, but
Yeah.
I love Bijan Robinson.
But it's funny when I don't know what year the Super Bowl was and how long it was afterwards, but when the Braves it was game 5 here against the Astros. Was that who they beat to win the World Series? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. First inning, Riley hits a grand slam. Now we're about 5 miles from the stadium. You could feel that thing shaking. I know people that were there said the stadium was shaking. I said to my wife, the Braves have to win this game because if they don't and go to game 6 in Houston, and if
It's over.
they lose that, I said, this city, it's gonna, you know,
It's gonna
oh
implode.
my, and I'm not a Braves and I'm not a Falcons fan. because of my loyalty where I grew up. I've just liked it, but
Mhm.
I've seen the Atlanta fans, just crushed. And after that Super Bowl, that's still unbelievable. But saying that, she goes, "What are you talking about?" And I said, "Well, the Super Bowl was killer." I said, "The Braves blow this." And there were 8 innings left. Houston won that game. I mean, it was pins and needles here, and I was cheering for the Braves because I wanted Atlanta to have some joy. They canceled school one Friday everywhere for the parade. I
Yep.
mean, the whole city was uplifted. It was like, "Good for you, Braves." Yeah, so I think the Braves won it in 21.
21,
Yeah.
yes.
So
And, it's funny 'cause, of course, I was living in Houston at that time, and, let's just say after the Braves won, I stayed hunkered down in my apartment for a couple days because all my Houston friends that were or that are Astros fans, they
yeah.
knew I was a Braves fan.
Right?
Oh, they know I'm a huge Atlanta
Uh,
everything, and they
yeah.
were talking so much smack to me,
Right?
before the whole World Series, and I told them, I was like, "If it comes down to, the series finishing out in Houston will probably win." And then the Braves just kept winning the games.
Yep.
And that Riley grand slam, I think I put everybody in do not disturb because that was like the moment where I was like, yeah, the Braves got it. And I'm
Yeah.
hunkering
Yeah.
down. I'm
Huh.
hunkering down for like the weekend. I literally texted one of my team captains for softball after that grand slam. I was like, I don't know if I'm coming out on
Yeah.
Sunday. Like,
Yeah. Well, you could just tell them, "Hey, there's no trash cans in the dugout here in Atlanta." I mean,
you want you want to know something? You want to know something funny though? Is there's a big softball tournament held in Houston that people all over the country come and play in, and they have multiple tournaments across the country each year. The company's called Spiders, and what they do is it's a draft style tournament.
okay.
You pay to enter, stuff like that, and then you randomly get drafted onto a team with people that you might not even know
Mhm.
and everything. But couple years ago, uh, one of my teammates on the team I was drafted to and played the whole weekend with, the whole 4 days with, was actually the whistleblower of
No way.
the whole Astro scandal. Yep, Mike Fiers. Love that man to death. He is one of the best people ever in the world, but anytime that man came up to hit, they people would boo the crap out of him, and the funny we were all just like, "Leave him alone," like, it's so
Right?
many years ago and everything, but the funniest thing, like, he would just laugh at
Yeah.
it. He would just laugh, and then he got pitched the ball, and the ball would go about 500 feet. Like,
Nice.
it was hilarious, like,
What
I
was did he
remember
work
'cause
for the Astros or was he working in the
he
technology?
was a pitcher. No, he was
Oh,
a
that guy.
pitcher for the
Okay.
Astros.
Oh
Yeah.
my. Oh
Uh,
wow.
but, yeah, I remember, I went and watched, my friends play in the tournament uh last year uh when it came to Houston. And I remember like Mike seeing me, he just runs up to me. He's like, "Dude, how are you? Can you
That's
walk
great.
yet?" like all that. And I'm just like, "Can't walk yet," but he was so happy
Yeah.
when I actually stood up to give him a hug and
Sure.
things like that.
Yeah.
But no, it's like one of those big things. God, sports matter so much to city of Atlanta,
Mhm.
but trust me when I say like Houston is a massive sport, like nuts for the Astros, especially.
Yeah. Yeah.
Texans, they're kind of like, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, they do have good support, but it's not
Sure.
like a massive thing.
I
The
love their uni
Rockets, they do. But what was
well,
that?
I was just saying I love the Texans jerseys. Their color scheme looks good. I like their helmets and the different combos they have.
Yeah, their color scheme is good. I don't know what my dad really says about them. My dad is the most judgmental individual about jerseys ever in the history of mankind.
Okay.
If the if the font of the numbers are off a little bit,
Okay.
he just like, "Oh, I hate the jerseys. They're bad."
Is that
And it's
right?
like
Yeah.
he'll choose if he doesn't care about who's in the game, he bases who he wants to win
Based on
on the jerseys. And I'm
okay.
just like, "Dad, really?"
Okay.
But that's just my dad at
So
the same time. But
he's content with like Penn State's generic or the Yankees and just keep it real simple and
he
classy
will
like the
never
Celtics.
he will never root for the Celtics. He will never root for the Yankees. Oh, he absolutely will not. Because I mean, he grew up a Lakers fan,
Yeah,
so
well,
Celtics absolutely,
I'll forgive him.
absolutely not.
Yeah.
And the Yankees, I don't. No, he's a St. Louis Cardinals
Okay.
fan
Yeah. Yeah.
for life.
There you go.
Uh, him and I will always argue about the Braves versus Cardinals playoff debacle.
You mean the
When
pop fly to left field that was, or the fly ball to left field was considered infield fly?
Yeah, when it hit the ground and then they called it
Yeah.
infield fly, which, first of all, it's not in the infield. Second of all, you can't call infield fly when it hits the ground or like after it hits the ground
There you go.
because Braves would have won the series. And
There you
I
go.
don't know. I can't convince my dad any
Man,
other.
you were young. That's a great memory. Good for you.
I'm trying to remember when it was. I can't. I can,
Yeah.
with sports memories, that's like one of the few things I have a good memory
Right.
for.
Yeah.
'Cause
Well,
I can almost remember that entire 1999 team that got to the World Series and lost to the Yankees, got
yeah.
smacked around by them.
Well, they had a great run and they're looking good this year too. So
Yeah, I was actually surprised when, when I saw their hot streak start the season, and I was just like,
yeah,
"Whoa."
different
And
than
seeing the Met
0-7
seeing
they
the
started last year, which killed them. So,
ugh,
uh,
yeah, all the injuries, but
yeah,
it also helps a lot with the Mets being so bad this year.
yeah,
It's great to see.
that's always satisfying.
It's so good to see when
uh,
the Mets are just
yeah,
absolutely awful.
yeah. That's funny. Well, hey, I want to wrap up. I've taken so much from this, and I'm proud of you how well you've grown up. I'm sure your parents are proud of you, and the adversity you
Mhm.
faced. I don't wish on anybody, but the pastor that married my wife and I used to say this when it has been addiction, that you go nowhere by accident, and so many things have happened in your life, and the message that you just exhibit on a daily basis is really inspiring. So I thank you for your time, Connor.
Thank you for having me, and I thank you for the kind words. I really do appreciate it.
Well, they're well deserved. So, and
Thank you.
and I know you're helping people on a daily basis too. So anytime somebody asks you about your situation, I'm sure it's uplifting.
Mhm. Absolutely.
So, well, I'll let you know when this comes out, and we can buzz your dad and tell him to leave us alone next time.
Yep.
Yeah. So again, I appreciate your time, Connor. Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
So for you out there that enjoy this episode, send it to several people. Until next time, make the most of your time and always hang tough.